Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today video is going to focus on GEO stock. So we finally got Michael Burry's 30 feeling, and as we saw, he sold all of his stocks and he kept only one, and this is GEO stock. And I have a pretty good history with GEO. Many of you watched my video before on GEO. I did over the 2 videos on it. So I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to do any updated analysis on GEO. On Michael Burry is back in the stock, and there was a couple of change with the business with some restriction of the debt and many positive things for the company. So I thought I would do a pretty good analysis on it and explain this on why I believe Michael Burry bought. So again, I hope you enjoy it. I was saying that Michael Burry went into Core Civic also, which is a stock that he did not, and he chose GEO, but for pretty good reasons. So if you don't really know, they have private prisons all around the world, not just in the United States, even in the United Kingdom, South Africa and Australia, and the stock is pretty cheap, around 3.5 times free cash flow. But it's cheap for every good reasons, and for two main reasons, which can I explain in this video and explain why they are not as bad as people think. So first of all is the whole thing with the sentiment. As you know GEO is a private prison, and you heard President Biden, you heard President Obama, and you heard many presidents for over 10 years. They were saying they want to end private prisons. They don't want private prisons at all, but yet the GEO is still here and Core Civic is still here, and for very good reasons. Now the big risk with the GEO, which many people think it's a huge risk and it scares a lot of people away from the stock, is the whole thing with the IC and the SMS, because President by the issue for ICE and USMC not to really renew contracts with GEO, because those entities they list the faculties from GEO. So what been happening most of the time, the IC and the USMC they have not been renewing the contracts with GEO, and many people get scared that if they don't really know the contract, therefore GEO comes out as a loser, and therefore their free cash flow declines, and therefore it's dying business. But this is not the case. Actually GEO has been coming out as winner whenever they really end the contract with them. Now the state is not a problem, because the state have been renewing the contracts, because President Biden has no control over the state, but they do have control over the ICE and the USMC. So gonna take a look at the case study of one of the cells that GEO actually made now, because whenever they want to cancel those contracts, they have two choices. The first choice is very expensive to try to transfer those prisoners to another places, and there's not many prisons in the United States, and they are not really building those prisons. So those prisoners that are here are very valuable. So the first choice is to move prisoners to another kind of government on prison. Now the second choice, which was the government has been doing, they have been buying the faculty from GEO. So instead of them having to move all the prisoners and everything that you paid GEO, whatever GEO was, and they just to faculty, but then on it not GEO, and you could to get the faculty. They sold called hall in the New Jersey, and they sold it for around 30.2 million. Now you may say, okay, 30.2 million, what's the big deal? Well, if you actually look at the ahead on book, and this is Starbucks on their book in New Jersey, and you could look on their book, it's only 3 million. So they had it in their book at only 3 million, and they sold it for 13.2 million. This is more than 10 times what they had on book, 10 times, and there's many of those things. And again, you could watch me videos before. I have gone in many such cases where they sold those faculties I can go on and many kind of examples that where this kind of things happen. So now as looking at this, we know that GEO is selling at a pretty valuable really estate portfolio. And if the government really wants to provide prisons, they mostly have to buy those facilities for more than they are worth, and GEO has been using this opportunity to sell them for more than book and try to pay down the debt, which is leads me to the second worry. Now the first worry, as you saw, whatever the government has been trying to do for the fast, and if they do end the contract, GEO is the winner, not the loser. Now the second big really was to the company is that they do have a lot of debt. Now the company makes like the company straight to bankruptcy because again GEO cannot afford to pay it. Now the real estate portfolio may actually be rose more on liquidation, but again this company does not want to liquidate itself, and this was a big risk with the stock, but it's not really a risk anymore because GEO did a restricting of the debt, and this was a positive news with the company. As you saw on the now the company has 600 million of cash now on the balance sheet, which means that GEO is not going under, it's not going bankrupt, and this kind of payment which is around 1.4 billion is gonna be moved to 28, and GEO really pay it off through free cash flow and some asset sales in the future, which really kind of the company is not going to be a banker. Nothing is guaranteed, but it's more likely that is not to go bankrupt because of this restriction, which is pretty good for the company. And the company, they said they are pretty confident that they can reduce that by 200 million to 25 million annually, which is again a pretty good for the company.